Right, we live. Pep Talk UK, Pro Beez, Benji's Boxing. Once more, it was so good last week, such a good time that we had to do it again for the second time. How you feeling, Benji?
Hello, all back on Pep Talk UK, the best place for your boxing news, reviews, interviews, and of course, these live chats. Yeah, last week was phenomenal. Dave Caldwell popping up onto the stream took me by surprise, but fantastic to be speaking and listening to the wisdom of such a coach that we all hold in such high esteem. And the topic tonight, I mean, does it get more controversial than AJ versus Fury? You know, even Oprah Winfrey herself would be proud of the controversy surrounding this topic. Right. But yeah, I'm pumped for it tonight. Beez, it's great to be back with you.
All right, we're just about to throw in the man himself from last week as well. Both from Free Kings Boxing. The USA is in the building.
Well, not the USA today. It's not the USA today.
Oh, okay. No. You were in the Caribbean, yeah? Or Colombia?
Yeah.
Okay, which part are you in?
I'm in Dominican Republic right now.
Oh, Dom Rep. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So if I because I know sometimes I have a delay with my internet, so just try to bear with me, guys.
Yeah, you know, we have a delay getting out of lockdown, but that's another podcast altogether. Yeah, we'll talk about it another time. All right. We're almost ready to roll. We might have a few more other guests that pop in and out. So once they come in, we'll just introduce them. But for now, it's Joshua versus Fury, undisputed. Last week, they talked about everything being agreed, right? But the signatures. Now, we ain't talk about it last week.
Okay.
But we wanted to just let it marinate, you know, we just like marinate the chicken overnight.
Oh, man.
We just wanted to marinate.
Why you got to say chicken?
Oh, you a veggie, right? Okay.
No. I'm just saying, why you know, that's my favorite food right there.
All right. Yeah, we just wanted it to marinate. So we got to kind of dive in this time around and kind of get the fans' perspective on this fight being agreed. So, all right, let's salute some of the guys that have just come in. All right, guys, smash that like button. About to dive in. All right, so Benji, last week, as I said, terms were agreed. Now, what was your initial reaction? We'll kind of put some spin on it later, but what was your initial reaction to the biggest fight in boxing potentially being made and done real soon?
Well, I'm excited. How could you not be? If you're into boxing, this must excite you. If this fight or the prospect of it doesn't excite you, then you're not a boxing fan, in my opinion. This is what it comes down to. It is the greatest prize in our sport and maybe the sport. Everyone always wants to know who the hardest man on the planet or the playground is. And basically, we find out. And it always comes down to the world heavyweight title. Okay, the title has been split into various forms, you know, with various alphabet titles over the years and things like that. This is for all the beans. And to be honest, even if it wasn't about belts and titles, even if both Joshua and Fury got stripped of their belts and titles tomorrow, it's still, I think, recognized as the two best heavyweights on the planet, getting it on, and we find out who the best is. So my initial reaction is excitement. I believe it's going to happen because it's worth so much money to so many different people. It's worth too much money to not happen. So I think, as you can tell, just excitement is where it's at for me.
Sure. All right, we got introduced. The man, he just came in, man. I thought I'd bring in security, man. You know, the big man himself, Kenny Ken, in the building. How you doing, Kenny?
I'm all good, guys. How's things for you guys, anyway?
Hey, we're excited. We're really excited for
the thing about
potential big fight happening. Yeah,
that's the thing about boxing. You never know. There's so much things that got to be done with this fight because it's all right to have like the agreements from both Top Rank and DAZN, and also in this country BT Sport and Sky Sports, and also you've got the two promoters, Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren, and you've got you've got the guy, you got the guys from Top Rank as well. But the thing about it, right, is that it's the last time we had a fight like this was Klitschko Fury, and one of the
Klitschko Joshua.
No, Klitschko Fury. Because what I'm talking about is something similar. Because like you had a situation where Fury was fighting on with Hennessy Sports, and he's fighting on was it Channel 5, one of those channels anyway, ITV, and Klitschko was with Sky. So it was a situation where Hennessy Sports are the promoter, but what's happened is that they had to bid for the sort of TV rights, and I just think that we're still going to have an issue. The elephant in the room is the TV rights. Which channel's going to show it in America? Which channel's going to show it in England? Because I think it's unrealistic for both BT Sports and Sky Sports to have both pay-per-view. It's not realistic. I think there's going to be more wrangling and more delays because someone's going to have to bid for the rights.
Right. So look, okay, it looks like the basics have been agreed. Well, all right. How did you kind of react to that news that the very least terms are agreed? How could we look at this whole thing in terms of terms? What do you think they meant by terms? Just financial terms, or is there a bit more than that?
I think it's about egos. They're gonna want to not just talk about the financial side, because I think they're gonna want the terms that the fight is going to be not just the first fight, but the second fight. I.e., the first fight is going to be 50-50, and then depends, and then they'll be wrangling over what the share's going to be. If say Joshua wins or Tyson wins, is it going to be 60-40, 70-30? If it's a draw, it's all those things that they kind of need to discuss from the outside looking in. But in terms of like boxing fans, it's very, very exciting. But we've seen this before with boxing. There's loads of like big fights that we've been excited about. I'm an old fogey, but there was a time like in the 90s we were very excited about the prospect of Lennox Lewis fighting Riddick Bowe, and it never happened. You know what I mean? So I've been burnt before with these sort of kind of anticipation of these big fights.
All right, Bo, what was your reaction to that news that the terms have been agreed between Fury and Joshua?
Well, first off, let me say that Ken isn't the only old folky here. I'm pretty up there. I'm pretty up there myself. I remember the whole Lennox Lewis and that. I also remember how Mike McCollum never was able to get in the ring with Sugar Ray Leonard, Duran, Hearns, or Hagler. I remember that. I want to point something out because you mentioned BT Sports. I think that could be sidetracked because BT does have a contract with ESPN.
Oh, right, yeah.
So some of that can be kind of negated with that situation right there. I want to point that out. When this was first announced, let me just say this. I knew we was going to get here. I knew we was going to get here. It was just all of some of the other things working themselves out. Like the Usyk situation had to work itself out. The Dylan White situation and boy, did that work itself out. But the Dylan White situation had to work itself out. Then, of course, the Deontay Wilder, his rematch clause had to play out. It was so many things that had to play out. The reason why I wasn't surprised is because at the end of the day, Eddie Hearn and Bob Arum have been able to come together, and they kind of have a rapport on how things are going to go. Eddie being someone that comes from his father, tutelage of being an old person, shows a lot of respect and maybe even sometimes too much towards Bob Arum, right? So I kind of figured, okay, there's only so much Eddie's gonna give because at the end of the day, he knows that, hey, at the end of the day, I have the hot commodity over here, right? The guy with the 3 belts and all of those things. So I figured that between him and Bob, they were going to say, listen, let's at least get the major things out of the way, which is how much they're going to fight for, the purse splits, and the rematch clause and the amount of the rematch clause, who's going to get what in the rematch clause. It's the little things, and this is where I kind of agree with Ken. It's the little things we're going to have to worry about: the venue, because ESPN might want to have it in Vegas. Eddie Hearn may want to go back to Dubai, or maybe if things open up in the UK, maybe we can have it at Wembley. You know, you have that to work out, right? Then also, you know, you got to have, okay, who's going to get all the rights to the pay-per-view? Because of course, DAZN, by being a pay-per-view, if you have the DAZN app, you get it. So I'm not too much worried about DAZN as I am Matchroom. Is Matchroom going to want some of the pay-per-view money from the US? Or is ESPN going to want some of the pay-per-view money from the UK? So it's those little things that they're going to have to sit, talk, and work out. You know that you know it's what I used to call the you know, the handshake of the men in business suits. That's what's going to have to work out, and that's above. Honestly speaking, that's between the networks. They're going to have to talk. They're going to have to work that out. But definitely, I think at the end of the day, this is going to have to happen, because with Anthony Joshua right now, you have Usyk, you have Michael Hunter, you have just a lot of heavyweights, you know, starting to bark at the door. So you got to do this fight now. We already had a hiccup with Anthony Joshua taking a loss. So you got to do this fight right now, right? You don't do it right now, you can lose it, because the WBA, the IBF, especially the IBF is not going to bend no more for you. They are the ones who are consistent with their ex-Tyson Fury. So they got to make it happen now. And I think what they did was, by announcing we've had everything agreed to, that's their way of saying, hey, this fight is going to happen. Don't worry. It's just that the men in suits got to continue to, you know, do the wink and the nod and the handshakes, and everything will play out.
All right. You know,
I don't know. I just want to. The thing with working a lot of these things out, like TV rights and venues and everything, like, one of the simplest ways of doing it goes to the highest bidder. Whoever wants it more, whoever, you know, like take for instance BT and Sky. It's simple. If we can't work something out where, you know, it's a case of only one of you is going to have it, bid. Because let's face it, it's all about how much money. If Saudi Arabia are going to put up the most amount of money over Vegas, the fight will go to Saudi Arabia. If Vegas, you know, so these things get solved quite simply, because, you know, if you throw enough money at a situation, it gets solved. And so I think with a lot of these things, it's just going to be bid on, and it's just going to go to the highest bidder. And whether that works out best or not for the fans, well, who gives a snot? It's all about making money at the end of the day. And while I do agree with Bo about the IBF situation, they've got a history of sticking to their timelines and things like that. I'm not disagreeing with that. But in my opinion, this is the biggest fight maybe in boxing right now. For one of the sanctioning bodies to not have your belt attached to this fight would kind of be doing yourself a disservice and shooting yourself in the foot, because you've got the biggest prize in sport. You don't want your company associated with that. I mean, it puts the IBF in a difficult position, because obviously, as Bo rightly says, they want to show that they have integrity. They want to keep their mandatory people happy and all that, you know, people knocking at the door. But at the same time, if you've got a mega fight, you want your belt attached to that. So it's interesting stuff. And yeah, I'll shut up now. Well,
I just want to say, don't underestimate American pride. We can be some stubborn, you know what.
Right. We got a comment from one of the viewers, Crazy D3. He's saying no official announcement, but we're still buying into the promoter's propaganda. Is that something that we're doing? Well, would you say that?
Yes, 100%. I think 100%, because I think the situation is that it's as everyone in the panel agrees, this fight has to happen. And what's happened is that we're putting the promoters, especially in England, in terms of Eddie Hearn, they're putting a lot of meat on the bones, and it's getting the public involved, because you know, for fights to sell in this country, it's not diehards like us three that we need to sell it to. We need to sell it to the, you know, the casual boxing fans. They're the ones who put you know, money in fighters' pockets, foods on their tables. The casual fans, and they outnumber the how to say it, the diehard boxing fans. So it is at the moment. It is a lot of propaganda. There's a lot of talking. You know, if you speak to Tyson Fury and his dad, they're saying, "Oh, Joshua don't want a part of it. He doesn't want to know what's coming to him. He knows he's going to lose." And you've got Joshua saying up for it. So it's just keeping the interest. It's getting everyone excited. But there's one point I kind of want to mention as well, is that I think another consideration as well is the timings as well, because again, if they want to get to a big audience, I suppose the European audience, you know, maybe holding a fight in maybe Saudi Arabia would probably appeal more to a European audience, because, you know, a European audience may not want to get up at, well, they're going to get up because it's a big fight, but it's convenient. In terms of convenience, you know, someone like 11 o'clock British time would be, you know, more suitable. But Bo, I'm being selfish. That's why I said that.
Hey, you know what, Bo? We've got an interesting point here. Right. Tony Lyons is saying the fight is going to happen. There is too much money for it not to happen, even though Fury is getting cold feet. Now, look, okay, the Fury element. Is he getting cold feet? Because there's talk of, we've seen online, right? He said inactivity can affect a fighter. Now, he hasn't fought now in 13 months or so, all right? Joshua just fought a few months ago. Some people online are saying that, look, he may be looking for a way to kind of prolong this fight from happening. What's your thoughts on that?
I don't think so. The thing about Tyson Fury is Tyson Fury likes to play head games. Go back to when he was doing the same thing to Vladimir Klitschko.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Go back to when it was Vladimir Klitschko. Go back to when it was Deontay Wilder. Tyson Fury loves playing these head games. Like, he wants you to be in that place of uncertainty because he already knows what he's going to do. But he wants to keep you guessing at what he's going to do. Remember when he told everybody for the Deontay Wilder rematch, "I'm going to come in the best shape of my life. I've never been in this much shape." He came in fat. He came in fat. Like, wait a minute, you came in heavier than the last time, right? And then we saw what happened, right? So he loves playing those mind games, and Tyson Fury knows how to keep interest in any fight that he's going to have, regardless. He knows how to do that, and he knows that these kind of talks are going to keep people interested in is he isn't. And as long as the one thing about big fights like this, you gotta make sure you have fan engagement. If the fans are not engaged in the fight, there's no point in you having the fight. What makes this such a big fight is, are we buying into the propaganda? Yes and no. We're buying into it as far as we don't have a specific date, venue, or any of those things, right? But then again, I say no, because I think that, especially with Bob Arum and Eddie Hearn, they already know what they want to do. They just know that it's a matter of getting it all together. We already know what we're going to do, but we have to get it all together. So if you believe in the ability of making this fight happen because it's so much money, because it's you know, we haven't. When was the last time we had an undisputed heavyweight champion? Was it Lennox Lewis?
Lennox Lewis, yep.
Yeah, see, and as an American, I know that a Brit was the last undisputed heavyweight champion, and you're about to have that again since Lennox Lewis. So they know the importance of this. So I don't think we're buying into the whole issue of the propaganda, but we're buying into the propaganda of keeping it relevant, keeping it alive, keeping it, you know, being talked about until everything is worked out. And that's what Eddie Hearn, that's what Bob Arum, that's what Joshua, that's what Tyson Fury and his family, that's what they're doing. They're doing all they can to say, listen, we know things that got to be worked out. We know it's other issues above us need to be worked out, but we got to keep this going, because if we're not talking about it, then this fight has no relevancy at all, period.
All right. So, Benji, we've got a comment from Grievous. He's saying Fury is just bluffing.
Well, but I mean, bluffing what? But I mean, the thing is, if things are still being negotiated and Tyson wants to increase his leverage on something, then maybe he can start threatening to walk away. Maybe he can start putting stuff out into the public sphere that he might throw a spanner in the works. It's not just head games about getting in his opponent's head. It's about games as in getting what he wants around the negotiating table. So we don't know what's going on we don't know what's going on behind closed doors at all. We can only speculate. But I wouldn't be surprised if maybe there's some hold up, some little sticking point, some little issue. So Tyson comes out in public and says something a bit negative or a bit dismissive of the fight, showing that he's maybe willing to walk away. Because let's face it, the night before he boxed Klitschko, they went over, they inspected the ring. They didn't like how padded the ring was. I think it was John Fury. It was the Uncle Fury who was his trainer at the time.
Yeah, Peter Fury.
Oh, you got me out of the hole there, mate. Thank you. It was Peter Fury at the time. Just said, look, take the sponging out the ring, or we're going home. It's simple as that. And Tyson will back me on that. So they got what they want. The sponging came out the ring. Tyson could move a lot better. He won the fight. Now, would he have lost the fight if the ring was all sponging that? I don't know, but it sure helped. So threatening to walk away, or even walking away, or showing some, turning your back a little bit, it could be a tactic to get what he wants with a certain issue around the negotiating table. It's all games at this point. But, I have to say, sort of to Kenny, I can completely appreciate where he's coming from. With these massive fights, yeah, we want them to happen. We want to believe, we want to dream. But until you see both men in the ring, you can't nail anything on.
Kenny, I mean, it's been put out there by the promoters that it's been agreed, but why is it not being signed? What's the hold up?
Well, it's all the things that we've mentioned. There's loads of issues in terms of the fight. In terms of they're probably still haggling over the money. Boxers have got big egos. Who's going to walk out first? You know what I mean? Because normally the champion walks out last, but they're both world champions. So it could be something as little as that. I still think it's a lot of it. The reason why it hasn't been signed is because. Again, it's a situation with COVID-19 and venues as well. That is the biggest bugbear.
The venue.
And I don't think the TV situation is going to be, because I think once the fight's agreed, then the TV situation is probably going to, again, that's where the TV situation is going to be a separate issue. But I still think it's a lot of it's to do is the money, how much they think can be raised, and maybe the venue. That's the only obstacles I can think for the fight. But one of the things about Tyson Fury, I know someone asked if Tyson's bluffing. The guy's got a mental health issue. And I think that is more kind of publicised in this country as opposed to in the United States. And I say this from, watching a lot of Tyson's interviews, when he's in jest and when he's serious. I think Tyson Fury ain't going to stick around. And that's probably one of the reasons why a lot of us boxing fans are anxious for this fight to happen, because I don't think Tyson Fury is in love with the sport. He's in love with the training and he's loved the fighting, but all the other razzmatazz and thing, for someone with his mental health issues, I don't think he wants all of that. And I'm saying now, it better happen now, because I can't see Tyson Fury fighting, competitively in the next 18 months. So that's why we've got to get a move on with this. And I'm just judging by the interviews you hear with Tyson Fury, there's the Tyson, the serious Tyson, still has this issue, and there's a Tyson who's basically performing and trying to get the fight in. And I don't think Tyson's comfortable doing that no more because of his mental health. And that's why I do have concerns about the time this fight's taking.
All right. Bob, I'm going to direct this to you, right? We're talking about the fight itself. We're talking about Tyson Fury. Now, usually before a big fight, he has a couple of tune-up fights to prepare himself, right? To get into that fluency. It would appear that if all is reported as true, he'd be going straight into a fight with Joshua. Is that something, can you see that? Or is there a potential hold-up that maybe a tune-up will be put in at some point in the process?
That's a very good question. And you know, and as I was actually pondering it, I had to think about something, and I said, one reason why I can understand Ken and everybody else talking about buying into the propaganda. Remember, a while back we were told that there was a verbal agreement between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua anyway. Yeah, I think that was like before Anthony Joshua even fought Kubrat Pulev. We were told that they verbally agreed. So this could be regurgitated news that we've already heard already, right? So I just had to think about that. I could see a situation where Tyson Fury is like, listen, this is the biggest fight of my life I'm going into. I haven't had a fight in a long time. I wanted to fight in December. That's the reason why when Deontay was talking about January, I was like, nah, forget it. Skip that fight. I'll fight the 5th. The 5th didn't play out because of the lockdown. So I could see a situation where Tyson is saying, hey, this is the biggest fight of my life, man. I need a tune-up. But then on the flip side, I could also see Tyson Fury feeling and believing he can beat Anthony Joshua regardless, because he has outside of his mental depression. The one thing about Tyson Fury is when he is on mentally, he is on. Right? When he has nothing affecting him, when he has no outside issues or anything, when he is on mentally, he is on. And I think because of him being the type of fighter that does a lot of traveling to different gyms, especially when you're talking about crunk gyms, and it's not to knock none of the gyms there, but I know from personal experience, gyms up here in America, when you're a professional fighter, you go in that gym, they looking to take your head off because everybody in the gym trying to prove a point, right? So he runs into those situations. So I can see this being a situation where he's using this as a mind game, like, oh, I need to tune up, oh, I need this, I need that, to kind of throw Anthony Joshua off his game and secretly be training his ass off, looking and ready to come back to fight. So it's a tough thing to try to get into the mind of somebody like Tyson Fury. The one aspect I can truly see him saying, this is a huge fight. I need a tune-up, because he did that for Deontay Wilder. He had 2 tune-ups, then he fought Deontay Wilder, then he had 1 tune-up, and he did the rematch. But then again, he could feel like, you know what? I could beat this. Man, I could beat Anthony Joshua. He's nothing but a dozer, man. Get out of here. Yeah, give me Joshua, and then go in there and fight him. So it's a tricky situation, but at the end of the day, if there is going to be a tune-up, guaranteed that they'll make the announcement that they're going to fight first. They say, hey, everything's done. We have to this is the date they're going to fight first, provided Tyson Fury get past Bobo Jones. No.
The thing is, though, in my opinion, Tyson Fury doing the tune-up fight, it's a kind of it's a nightmare for all involved. It's a complete headache, because if Tyson Fury has a tune-up, then we come to a point where Anthony Joshua says, oh, well, hold on a second. I've had too much time out the ring, so I need a tune-up. Or because of the amount of titles he's got, I need to do a mandatory defense. And you have this situation where the scheduling of both fighters is kind of out of sync. They're not boxing. You know, if Tyson Fury has a tune-up, really Anthony Joshua needs to have a tune-up or another fight within a couple of weeks of that fight. If you have Tyson Fury have a tune-up, then 2 months later, Joshua has a fight. You see, they're out of sync then. So we're just going to be waiting for them to get into a position where everyone's happy they've had the right amount of training camp and the right amount of time out the ring. The other problem with tune-ups and things like that, cuts. I mean, as we saw with Tyson Fury and was it Wallin? He had an absolutely horrendous cut against Wallin. Yeah. Wallin.
The fight we got cut above the eye.
Yeah, and that was a bad cut. That was a really bad cut. That's going to take you out of action for a long, long time. So if Tyson Fury wants to start, banding around the idea of a tune-up fight because he's rusty or blah 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 blah, it's going to put no one wants to hear that. Yeah, I can imagine Frank Warren on the phone. No, Tyson, you can't do that. on the subject of mental health, interestingly enough, I remember when Tyson Fury did his comeback, had a couple of tune-up fights, and then he had the first Deontay Wilder fight. And a lot of people were saying, is this too soon to be taking on Deontay Wilder? He's had time out at the gym. He's in better shape, but he'd have to lose a lot of weight. And I had this conversation with the head coach at the boxing club that I'm sort of involved with. And he said, well, if you've got someone that's got mental issues and problems like Fury has, and you're the promoter, you're the manager, and it looks like he's got himself back on track, you want to make these fights as quickly as possible because you don't know how long he's going to be stable. And to be honest, when we look at the amount of time and the bouts that Fury has been in, he has been relatively stable for quite a long period of time. So again, it's no joke, mental health issues and problems like that. But again, it's another reason why, Kenny, you're right, mate. This has to get made sooner or later from so many different reasons. Pro Beez, you back with us?
I'm back. Hopefully for longer this time. All right.
Oh.
So I've got this dodgy internet. I'll tell you that much. All right. So look, we got to talk about who is, the A side. Obviously, look, Joshua said only last week that tell Fury to come and see the boss. I don't know if you saw that at all, but in the panel's eyes, who is, the guy, in this fight to claim to be the A side? Kenny.
Well, it's a good question, because if you talk about the A side in Great Britain and Europe, it's Anthony Joshua, because he's not just Anthony Joshua the person, he's Anthony Joshua the limited company. So he can claim that. But the thing is that because Tyson's with Bob Arum, and because he's got that sort of je ne sais quoi that the Americans have, and maybe he's got the Irish thing as well, so Irish Americans are going to gravitate towards him as well. Because America is the place to be in terms of, if you want to make it as a, especially in status sport and showman sport like boxing, the America's a place to be. So if you go to America, Tyson Fury's the big cheese. Stealing the word big cheese. So it's a very complicated thing, because remember, Joshua's only fought once in New York. He had this big build up. He was meant to fight another fighter, but
Big Baby.
In the day, it was Miller, Gerald Miller, who again failed another drug test. Well, that's another story anyway. It's a Big Baby Miller, but he fought Ruiz. Ruiz tricked him into this. Oh, can I just feel your bouts? And blah blah, and they thought it'd be easy.
Can I take a picture?
Can I take a picture of your bouts? And he hits him with a left hook, and we think it's going to be over. And then he thinks, Ruiz thinks, oh no, I've been hit, I've been put down. Oh no, I better get into action. Next minute, boom boom, like Popeye gets a bit of spinach, boom 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 boom, combinations, body shots. Big punch around the side of the head and hit his ear. Before you know it, everything falls out in flames. So, Joshua, in terms of what the Americans must think of Joshua. Obviously, and Bo will enlighten me when I've finished, but I don't think the Americans think too highly of Joshua. They can't do, because how do I say it? As Robert De Niro says, you had your chance and you blew it. That's what the Americans think. But on this side of the Atlantic, Joshua is like the biggest thing in boxing, bigger than Frank Bruno, bigger than Lennox Lewis. So if this was, say, held in London or maybe in Mecca, maybe Joshua maybe is the outside. But where it matters in America, it's always going to be Tyson Fury, because Tyson Fury, beat the man, and not only beat the man, he beat him up.
Oh, Bo, how was AJ regarded in the States? I mean, that's where you're from.
Yeah, I think the tone for Anthony Joshua has definitely changed, especially when you look at the comparable situations of how one acted when he lost versus how the other was been acting when he lost, right? So I definitely think the tone has changed given the fact that Anthony Joshua did take a loss. So now there's no rivalry there once Deontay Wilder was out of the picture. So there's no more rivalry there, right? So the tone has changed because at the end of the day, everybody do want to see an undisputed champion. That's the one thing everybody want to see. So you have those who were Wilder. I'm trying to figure out the problem because I know this is UK. I don't want to curse. Let's just say the overzealous Wilder fans are now rooting for Anthony Joshua to be the guy that beat their quote unquote whatever, to beat Deontay Wilder. Let me say that. So they're rooting for him. So while Joshua's actually going to get more love because they're going to root for him to beat Fury because Fury beat Deontay Wilder. Which is, and you know what? And that's actually a common thing when you have a rivalry, right? You know, if you are, I take soccer for example. You know, if when the UK goes down, whatever team beat the UK, y'all want to see them. Hey, well, y'all better win the championship. You know, so we can say we at least lost to the champs, right? So I think that's changing, and then because of Wilder is kind of, you know, he's kind of out of sight, out of mind right now. So the tone for Anthony Joshua is definitely changing, but. As far as the A side, I actually get, because at first I was just going to say it's clear cut Anthony Joshua, but Ken made a compelling argument because if you break it down in a vacuum, you have the American audience and then you have the UK audience. And if you try to break it down that way, that could be tough at the negotiation table because ESPN comes with a lot of power. It comes with a lot of push. It comes with a lot of pull. Tyson Fury has been able to gravitate a lot of Americans to come see you. Now, the only reason why I still lean toward Anthony Joshua is if the fight does happen in the U.S., the one thing I know, depending on where it is, like New York, especially if it's in New York or Vegas, anything like that, UK fans will travel. Y'all will travel by Vegas will be like Wembley. And it would be Wembley in Vegas. Like everybody you run up to, you'll think they're American. You'll be like, hey, what's going on? Hey, what's cracking, mate? You'll be like, oh, okay, my bad. I thought that he was like that's actually what you'll probably wind up getting. But you have to give it to Anthony Joshua. If you're like us, you're boxing, a true boxing pundit, you have to give it to Joshua simply because of the fact of he does hold the 3 belts, right? His resume is very impressive, and he does have enough American appeal in this fight, along with the UK appeal, to where when you sit down, you can tell Tyson Fury, you would never get this kind of payday if you wasn't fighting me. I can get at least half of what you're getting, or maybe close to what you're getting, because that's me all the time. You're not going to ever get nothing close to this unless you're fighting me. That's the only play that they would have.
All right, guys in the chat, smash that like button.
Can I bring something in on that, Beez? Can I bring something in on that?
Wheel it in.
Dave, the boxers have already told us out of their own mouths who is the A side and the B side. The B side is the challenger. The challenger, the B side, always calls out the champion, the A side. After Anthony Joshua had beaten Kubrat Pulev, people said, what next? In Joshua kind of ambiguously said, I'll fight whoever. Whoever's next, fine, whoever. He did not mention Tyson Fury's name. Tyson Fury was the one that became very vocal on social media after the fight and called out Anthony Joshua, said, Joshua, I'm coming from you. Right then, we knew who the A side and the B side was. Tyson Fury was calling out Anthony Joshua. The challenger was calling out the champion. So that told me the answer to that straight away. Now, the other thing that I personally look, because I think Kenny, to be honest, and Bo, I think you're compelling arguments for Tyson Fury being the A side. I think they were really good arguments. I couldn't have come up. It made me think about it in a slightly different way, to be completely honest. But for me, and I think Bo touched on this, Anthony Joshua, any fight that he has will be in Wembley Stadium. It will be in Cardiff Stadium. It's going to be in a stadium and it's going to sell out. I mean, he could literally box anyone and it will sell out and it will be worth millions. The only time that I have seen Tyson Fury in a stadium fight was a 2/3 full Windsor Stadium on Carl Frampton's undercard. When was the last time that Anthony Joshua was on someone's undercard in a 2/3 full venue? That doesn't happen with Anthony Joshua. That happened with Tyson Fury. If this fight doesn't come off, Anthony Joshua is going to carry on boxing people in stadiums, making millions and millions and millions of dollars. For Fury, I think his options are a little bit more limited. There you go. I've just thrown that into the
Do you know what?
Conversation.
Before we get to Kenny, right? I suppose the guys in the chat, let us know who you're rooting for. If it's Fury, put in the chat. If it's Joshua, put in the chat, and we'll see how it kind of works out, and we'll see where the balance of power is. Kenny, some would probably say that, look, in terms of the A side, you could look at it from different angles. You could say purely based on boxing ability, this person's the A side. Purely based on fan base, this person's the A side. There's different spins on this whole argument, isn't there?
Oh, 100%, because again, Benji's made a very compelling thing is that I've been to watch both fighters fight. I can tell you now, I went to see Tyson Fury fight a few times. I saw him fight Chisora in the second fight in East London, where basically, and this is a true story, Billy Joe Saunders was fighting Chris Eubank Jr. and it was packed to rafters. Obviously with travellers. And then as soon as Billy Joe Saunders fight and Chris Eubank Jr. fight finished, everyone left. It was virtually me and my wife and maybe 1,000 people stayed for the Tyson Fury Derek Chisora rematch. But again, that was 2014. Since then, Tyson Fury's chummed the pants, out of the ESPN, viewers. He's beat the man, Deontay Wilder, and there's a lot. I think there's a lot of people as well, in terms of if you speak to a lot of people, a lot of boxers, trainers. I think if you ask them who they think is going to win the fight, a lot of them go for Tyson. Now that doesn't necessarily make him the A side, because there's other things, which you guys correctly mentioned. The fact that, what Joshua brings to the table in terms of full stadiums. I've been to most of Joshua's fights. There's never been an empty seat. So I get where a lot of people are coming from, and I can see why it's going towards Joshua. But I can only talk about what I'm seeing in Europe and Great Britain. I don't know what the situation is in America, but from what Bo says, it looks like it's because of Joshua's holding the belts and because of Tyson's taking something that from in terms of WBC from Deontay Wilder. Maybe it is Joshua, but if it was just like an all British fight, I'm saying Joshua all day. But because of Tyson Fury's performances and the fact that I think he's charmed the American public, I'm torn, because I have to be in America for about a month to decide who's the A side, because I'm only learning this for the first time that Anthony Joshua's a lot bigger than I thought he was.
Bo, it's interesting that look, we could, like I said, there's different ways to look at who's the A side. The boxing pugilists will say, well, it's based on ability or it's based on who has the more belts. I mean, which side do you think is more important for you as the A side?
I can't necessarily say it's belts, because remember, you have fighters remember when Sugar Ray Leonard came back to boxing and challenged Marvin Hagler. Marvin Hagler was undisputed middleweight champion. Sugar Ray Leonard came off his couch and was the immediate A side. Okay, he was the immediate A side. So you can't necessarily say about belts. Oscar De La Hoya was the same way. Another fighter, Terrell Gotti, was the A side over Floyd, and Floyd at that time was the champion. So it isn't just solely about belt. Belts help in negotiation, but when you talk money, you talk crowds, you talk longevity. When you start talking the dollars and the cents, that's when you start saying, okay, who's the A side here, right? When Anthony Joshua defeated Vladimir Klitschko, he received the fame, the fortune, the accolades that came with beating Vladimir Klitschko that Tyson Fury didn't get when he beat him 2 years prior. Tyson Fury didn't get all the fame. He didn't get all the fortune. He didn't get the newspaper covers, the crowning of a passing of a torch. He didn't get any of that when he beat Vladimir Klitschko that Anthony Joshua got, right? You also have to look at Anthony Joshua was doing pay-per-views back when he was fighting Dylan White for the Commonwealth and the British title. I remember that. Okay,
Great
same
fight.
thing.
Great
When
fight.
when he fought Carlos Takam. So you have to take that in consideration at the table, and you say, okay, off just my name, regardless of who I'm fighting, off my name, I've been able to sell. You've had to had a dance partner with you, a good dance partner with you, for yours to sell. You know what I'm saying? So you needed an equal to dance partner for yours to sell. I've been able to do mine just off my name. That's what it's going to come down to at that table. Having belts do help, but what also is going to help is the numbers and the cents. And if mine is, if my numbers and my dollars and my cents stack up higher than yours, then there's nothing really need to be said there. It's like we can say popularity. Now, let's say some people will say, well, popularity, right? Now you have to look at, well, who's more popular in the UK, Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury? See, who's more popular on social media? Like Ryan Garcia did a great job of using that to his advantage when dealing with Oscar De La Hoya. He used social media. Look how popular I am on social media. Now give me a contract. You see what I'm saying? Like he's so popular, he's able to tell Devin Haney, a champion, man, I don't want to fight for your belt. I'd rather fight Gervonta Davis. And people, you know what I'm saying? So there's so many elements to that. That's why stuff like this is kind of hard when you're negotiating it, because those are all the things you have to take into consideration when you are sitting down talking about who's going to be the A side or the B side. But Benji had an excellent point when he said, it's the challenger who calls out the champion. That's who's the B side. When you mention my name and say, I want you, you're automatically B side. I've never said nothing about you, but you're mentioning me. That makes you the B side because you've made it clear you need me. I can keep doing what I'm doing, making money, but it's clear that you need me, buddy. So that's a good point.
Benji, I suppose, look, another way to look at it is Tyson Fury is the type of guy that probably doesn't really even care about A side, B side. He wants to get in there and prove, how good he is. Is it fair to say that?
Well, I think that's what he'd have us believe. I think that's part of his persona. He's always said, I'm a fighting man and blah, 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 blah. But, again, we're speculating about what goes on behind closed doors. The other thing as well, let's take Tyson Fury at face value. Let's say that he's this fighting man. He don't care about the money. He'll give his purse away to charity. I mean, he said that in the past, in past fights. Let's say it's not about the money for Tyson Fury at all. He just wants to get in the ring and have a fight. Unfortunately, Tyson Fury's management are not going to feel the same way. Bob Arum ain't going to feel the same way. Frank Warren ain't going to feel the same way. It's not just about what Tyson Fury wants. There's a lot of other people that want to squeeze the juice out of the lemon. And so, look, Tyson Fury, for all I know, Tyson Fury could just be sat there saying, look, make the damn fight. As long as I'm getting a 50-50 cut or whatever, just make the damn fight. But then it's management and, whoever else is surrounding that are saying, well, no, hold on a second. Let's not leave money on the table here. Let's not give more to the other side than what we can have for ourselves. So that's the thing. In my opinion, it's disrespectful to suggest that the two boxers don't want to box. I could be completely wrong here, but
it's the business.
Yeah, but Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, they want to fight each other. They want to get in the ring and have a tear up. I mean, they've sparred together in the past many years ago, and who knows what happened there. But that tells me they've been in the ring together before. Fury ain't afraid of Joshua. Joshua ain't afraid of Fury. They want to have a fight. The problem is all the middlemen, the managers, the TV networks, the sanctioning bodies, the belts, blah, all this going on, because it's not just the boxers that has to be satisfied here. This is business, you know, and it comes down to as many people want to be filling their pockets off this as possible, because this is like a lottery win for the main people surrounding this fight. Again, managers, promoters, whatever. We're talking about, you know, millions of pounds and dollars here. No one wants to leave anything on. No one wants to leave anything on the table. They want to make sure they get as much of that into their pockets as possible.
All right, let's engage the viewers. All right. Sorry, but we're just gonna sort of include the viewers as well, get their points in. I'll answer one of their questions. Okay, so. All right, Adam Beanie Smith, Fury versus Wilder 2 in Las Vegas has the highest gate for a heavyweight fight in Las Vegas history. Tyson Fury is the A side.
I can't necessarily agree with that just based off that, because because of the fact that when you look at when Anthony Joshua fought Vladimir, I mean, are we just looking at what was done here in the U.S.? Because if you want to look at what happened with Deontay Wilder, and I say it again, Anthony Joshua has shown that when it comes to Tyson Fury, you needed a dance partner. I've been able to sell just off my name, regardless of who I fight. You know what I'm saying? I've been able to fill up 30, 40, 50,000 stadiums. I mean, 30, 40, 50,000 seated stadiums. You know what I'm saying? Seated stadiums. Let me make sure, because, you know, fans have a way of taking certain things you're saying. They just run with it, right? Sometimes sometimes I have to laugh at comments, because I'm like, okay, that's clearly you're taking it, you know, out of content, or you're coming in on the tail end of something being said. And although I appreciate it and I understand it, you know, they're passionate about certain things. But but when it comes to Joshua, he's been doing this against, you know, like I said, Carlos Takam, a late replacement when he fought Andy Ruiz, you know, like I said, Dylan White. I remember when he fought Dylan White and how that was. Then of course he fought Vladimir Klitschko at Wembley Stadium, and that broke your what's his name? That broke his heart. What's the guy's name? Froch. That broke Froch's heart. That he broke his record. Yeah. That broke Kyle Froch's heart. And I'm gonna tell you something. I remember watching that fight. And I remember lots of people I know here in the U.S. was invested in that fight when he fought Vladimir Klitschko, right? So, because again, it was a rivalry going on, right? So, you can't just take what Tyson did against Deontay and say, oh, that puts him over Anthony Joshua. No, because again, if I look at how I've been able to sell, regardless of who's in the ring with me, and I have 3 belts, and I'm looking at the longevity part of it, you needed another culpable counterpart with you to do what you did. So that's just for me. People want to disagree, that's fine. But I just can't go off of one time you did something versus a guy that's been able to do this on a good level. Even going over to Dubai with Andy Ruiz. Did y'all see that? That was in Dubai, and everybody was heavily invested in that, you know. So you just can't take, you know. It's like if I am a consistent world champ, like I've been a world champion 5 years, you've been a world champion 1 or 2 years. You can't say that we're on the same level. And let me make one more point that I want to make. One other thing that I think, if I'm Anthony Joshua and we're sitting at the negotiating table, I say, well, unlike this dude, I fought my mandatories. This dude has never fought a mandatory. This dude has never really defended his title, because when he fought, he beat Vladimir Klitschko. He dipped out the sport. Then, you know, and then of course he fought Wilder. They had a draw. Then he fought him and beat him, and he hasn't defended against anybody. He didn't fight a mandatory. So no, I'm the A side. I'm the A side just based off the fact this dude got a habit of dipping out without honoring his contracts. You know, that's just me talking. You know, that would be something I would use against him.
Okay, so why do you think that is? But why didn't make a defense when winning these world titles?
Oh, one reason was he had UCAD breathing down his neck. after Vladimir Klitschko. So he had UCAD breathing down his neck, and that's when he went on the whole mental situation. Then of course, once he beat Deontay Wilder and became the world champion, there was the rush to try to make him versus Anthony Joshua, and the person that was standing away at that time was Dylan White. But there was no emphasis on putting him. There was no emphasis on putting him there to fight Dylan White. And so when Povetkin beat Dylan White, he was able to get away with that one. But I would definitely, if I'm Anthony Joshua, I would point that out, because I think after Vladimir Klitschko, there was the rematch clause. He had to wait for Vladimir Klitschko to announce he was going to come back. Klitschko even had to take him to court at one point to, you know what I'm saying, to get his rematch. And then that's when he had the so-called mental depression, which I think it was a combination of things. He had UK breathing down his neck and, you know, all of that stuff. And sometimes being an American, let me say this, and being a black man in America, let me say this. Sometimes you have to defend your name, even if it's going to give the appearance that you look guilty. Sometimes you're going to have to do certain things just to defend your freaking name. And that's something people won't understand. And I kind of understand Tyson Fury. Now, I'm not going to say whether he was guilty or not. That's for, you know, court public opinion. But the fact that he never got a chance to do those things, I would definitely be using them against him if I'm Anthony Joshua.
All right, guys, smash that like button. Got Kenny Ken, both from Free Kings Boxing, and also Benji from Benji's Boxing, all in one place. House party, more like. Smash that like button. All right, let's engage the viewers and get some of their questions in. All right, I think this one's directed at you, Benji. Benji, there's no denying Wilder has terrifying power, plenty of WBC defenses. What Fury done to Wilder in America isn't getting enough credit when comparing it to Joshua's resume.
Well, it completely depends how highly you rate Deontay Wilder. He's knocked a lot of people out. Bo, do you want to come in? No. This
is the American. He wants this.
Well, do you want me to finish my point first and then come in, or I can see it in your eyes? You're just like,
yeah, go ahead.
Finish
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Right. Go ahead. I got a lot I'm gonna fucking say about that. Go ahead.
So yeah, I mean, look, Deontay Wilder knocked a lot of people out, but in my opinion, you've got Ortiz on there, who was seen as a bit of a boogeyman at the time. A lot of people avoided boxing Ortiz, and fair enough. Wilder beat him. Obviously, more convincing the second time than the first. But other than that, I struggle with Wilder's resume. I look up and down it, and I think, well, who is there really on there that stands out as, you know, being something really sort of quite special? Okay, he's got big power, but in the heavyweight division, all of these guys, if they land on you, they're going to do a certain amount of damage. You know, these fellas are 16 stone plus. I mean, a lot more than that, some of them. So in the heavyweight division, I think that the whole power thing, you know, the chin only takes so much to put someone's lights out, you know. So I never really rated Wilder as having that much skill, being that much of a technician in the ring. I think he's very deficient. I don't think his footwork's very good. He's got no head movement. He's got no jab. He's just got a big right hand. So talking about that being a better win than anything on Joshua's resume, I don't see it. You look at Anthony Joshua. I mean, me and Pro Beez have had this conversation a couple of times. You look down Joshua's resume over his last 10, 15 fights, you're not going to see any Pianettas, Safaris, or Wallins in there. You know what I mean? They've all been top-ranked people. Okay, he lost to Ruiz. He avenged that loss. So, yeah, I don't get me wrong. Tyson Fury, when he fought Wilder the second time, he came out aggressive and he absolutely wiped the floor with him. You know, I give him all the credit in the world for doing that. There shouldn't be a third fight. with Wilder. No way, because the second one was so damn decisive. It wasn't even a competitive contest. At no point in that contest was Wilder competitive because Fury was so good that night. And Fury also showed an aggressive element to his game. But again, it's all down to how much you really rate Wilder. Fury's a good technical boxer, and I'll always put money on a good technical boxer against someone who can't box at all. And that might be a little bit harsh on Wilder, but that's how I feel about it. It was a good win. It was a very, very good win. It was a complete shutout. It was a great stoppage. But is Wilder going to ever be anywhere in, when I look over boxing heavyweight history in 10, 20 years' time, am I going to be remembering Deontay Wilder? Probably not. Probably not. And maybe that's harsh, but anyway, Bo, do your thing, mate.
Okay, all right. Let me just say this. Yeah. This is the problem you have with the sport. When you ridicule a fighter's resume and you say he's a bum and you say he has not fought nobody, and this is what I heard from over here in the U.S. in boxing groups, people were viciously attacking Deontay Wilder's resume, right? So when that happens and you viciously attack a guy's resume, you can't later on say that, oh, well, this guy beats him, that makes him, better, or the ace. No. You're not going to viciously attack a guy's resume then just because the guy who beat him, is, and he's about to fight the guy that you don't like, which is Anthony Joshua. You can't now say, oh, he's way up here. No, hell no. Get the fuck out of here with that. I'm not taking that today. I'm really not. I'm tired of it. The bottom line is this. If you look at Deontay Wilder's resume, he had 10 defenses, and you make a very good point. Against who? When people's against who? Are Spilka? Duhapis? I mean, are those names that's going to just ring off your tongue? And these were people that was questioning this man's resume. This isn't just me. I'm saying what has been said in boxing things for a long time. He rematched Rivalry and Respect. He beat Dominic Breazeale, but Dominic Breazeale had already been beaten by Anthony Joshua. I remember hearing that. I remember hearing people when he finally beat Luis Ortiz. You know what people say when he beat Luis Ortiz? What did Luis Ortiz beat? He beat a Brian Jennings that was coming off of a loss to Vladimir Klitschko. I remember hearing that. All right, okay. I remember people was calling him Beyonce Wilder, not Deontay. They was calling him Beyonce Wilder. So you can't ridicule a guy. You can't go through his resume and ridicule his resume. People were saying that Deontay Wilder had the worst resume of a 40-0 fighter. And I remember this all. I used to get in arguments about that. If you look at Deontay Wilder's resume, the only probably legit guy he got as victories is Bermane Stiverne because he was the champion and Luis Ortiz. That's it. He didn't beat Tyson Fury. They had a draw. Okay? If you look at the number of top 10 heavyweights Wilder fought and beat, you all probably only have one at that time, which was Luis Ortiz. You look at Anthony Joshua, it's a little bit different. Hell, if you look at Dylan White, it's a little bit freaking different. Dylan White's been in there with Povetkin. He's been in there with Povetkin. He's been in there with Anthony Joshua. He's been in there with Oscar Rivas. All right. So I'm not going to sit here and again, I don't care who gets mad, but you're not going to trash a guy's resume then simply because the guy that beat is about to fight the guy you don't like. Say, oh, he's way up here. No, hell, that's not how shit works. If Deontay Wilder's resume was not up to par, if his skill set was not up to par then, it's not up to par now. So just because Tyson Fury beat a guy who his best performance was in 2015 against Bermane Stiverne, Deontay's been on the decline. He's been dependent on his power and power alone. You can't say a guy is a bum. You can't discredit a guy that all of a sudden he means the world when he's beaten by somebody who's about to fight somebody you don't like. Man, no, get that the fuck out of here. I'm not having that today.
I mean, this is it. I agree with Bo. If it had been Anthony Joshua who went over there and did exactly the same performance as Tyson Fury did, the Fury fans now saying how great that performance was, if it was Anthony Joshua who'd done exactly the same thing, it'd be, oh yeah, well, who's Wilder? you know, that's it. It's just it's because it was Fury that did that performance. The Fury fans love it. If it was AJ had done the exact same performance, the Fury fans would be saying, "Oh no, well, Wilder's nothing." The other thing as well, just one point on Wilder's power. If Deontay Wilder had this freakish power, how come Fury got up twice? Fury being put down by Cunningham, who was a cruiserweight. He's been put down a couple of times actually from people who weren't known punchers. So surely Deontay Wilder, who's got the biggest punch in heavyweight boxing, as we're told, put him down twice. He got up twice. That's not this freakish power that I would expect. I would expect Wilder to hit Fury. Fury go down. He won't get back up. He got up twice. And Fury's not known for having a great chin because he's been put down by smaller, lesser punchers in the past.
Okay. All right, Kenny, this is directed to you. And this is from one of the viewers. He's saying, Muller's 27. Can you please tell me the relevance of the resume to the win of AJ versus Fury? Now, some people say records are for DJs, right? But I guess some people are using resumes as sort of a measuring stick to, you know, for them about who's the better fighter is. But on the night itself, I mean, how do you kind of see the outcome of that fight?
You know, for me, if I look at the fight, the reason why people look at resumes is because they're trying to find a way in order to judge the fighters on kind of their ability. Now, if you look at Tyson Fury, because he's such a skilled fighter, a lot of people are going to look at resume and think, right, this guy's everything. He's quick. He can fight southpaw. He can fight orthodox. He can fight a long range. He's got quick feet. He's got quick hands, and he proved with Wilder he can actually sit on you and stand and hit and like to take you out and do a demolition on you. And they look at Joshua, and they look at his background and say, "Oh, he's only been fighting since he was."
Kenny. All right, we might have lost Kenny there. All right, we lost Kenny there. All right. So, like, directed to you, Bo. All right, I think we've lost Kenny. Okay, records aside, right? There's an argument to say, look, it doesn't matter. You know, it's about who's better on the night. And if records did matter, then resumes did matter, then Ruiz wouldn't have beat Joshua in the first place. Buster Douglas wouldn't have beat Tyson, and so forth.
Hakeem Rodman would never beat Lennox Lewis, and so forth and so on. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, it's boxing. Okay, styles make fights, and that's what's true for a reason. Anthony Joshua fought the wrong stylistic type of fight that night. He stayed in close to Ruiz, and Ruiz caught him with a hook. He knocked him down. He thought he had him hurt. He went in there to finish him, and he got hit with a hook. Now, if you look at Anthony Joshua's career, what's the one punch that always wobbled his legs? The hook, the counter hook. Dylan White did it to him when they first fought. Carlos Takam nailed him with it when they first fought. All right. That's the punch that always seems to wobble him and disconnects him a little bit, be that hook. There's been too many times when I've seen in a fight where he's gotten hit with it and it shakes him a little bit. And that's what Anthony Ruiz capitalized on. Anthony Joshua came in close to finish the guy off, and he got hit, and he was unable to recover from it. Now you can also take into account that maybe it was nerves, maybe it was the pressure of making his debut in America and it being successful, which kind of came into play. I actually saw a guy who was thinking in the fight instead of just reacting. Like he was thinking about more than when he was at one point when he was on his knees, he was thinking more about stuff that I felt, and when I was looking at him, I felt like he's thinking about a lot more than just the fight right now, right? All of those things come into play. Now in the rematch, what did he do? He boxed his head off for 12 rounds. He did what he should have did in the first fight, but that's just because he lost to Andy Ruiz doesn't mean that his resume is trash. The greatest of all time has losses. The greatest of all time lost to a guy 9-0 and Leon Spinks. So are we going to say his resume is trash? Leon Spinks was 9-0 when he beat Muhammad Ali. He was 9-0 as a heavyweight. Was it Leon? Yeah, no. It was Leon. Yeah, right. Leon. Yeah, Leon Spinks. We don't say his resume is trash. Lennox Lewis lost to Hakeem Rotman. We don't say his resume is trash. You know why? Because he went and he got his revenge. When a fighter goes and he gets that revenge, it's an unwritten rule where all is pretty much forgiven. I mean, we don't forget, but we don't harp on it because you know what? You went back out there and you got your revenge. Now, at the end of the day, there's one person that didn't get his revenge. Deontay Wilder didn't get his revenge. Now, we can sit and we can talk about how, well, Tyson Fury this, Tyson Fury that, and I get it. But I'm not going to trash Anthony Joshua because he did get his revenge, right? When I'm looking at Deontay Wilder, well, kind of didn't get his revenge. Regardless of however you say why he didn't get it, I know the reasons why he didn't get it. I'm not saying it's his fault. I'm just saying that if that's what we're going to do is say, well, we're going to trash Anthony Joshua because he lost to Andy Ruiz. Well, he got his revenge. Then I better see you do the same thing to the other guy because he didn't get his revenge. For whatever reason, he hasn't been able to get that revenge. So, I mean, taking a loss is part of the sport, man. I mean, that's really what it is. Sometimes you actually find yourself in that loss. I mean, that's just part of the sport. That's part of the game. Lennox Lewis, like I said, Mike Tyson lost the but Mike Tyson another one. He never got his revenge against Buster Douglas, you know, or Evander Holyfield. He never got his revenge against Evander Holyfield. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's the sport of boxing.
Tyson, funnily enough, Tyson never got his revenge against anyone, did he?
That's
something to think about.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That is something to think about. But you know, for me, at the end of the day, man, it's boxing. Okay, you go in there sometimes, man, and things just don't work out the way you want to work out. You either underestimate somebody, or you overtrain, you undertrain. That's the sport, and that's really what makes it so good. Is because if Andy Ruiz doesn't beat Anthony Joshua, what are we talking about here? You know what I'm saying? Like, if that doesn't happen, then what great moment of the sport do we have? So, you know, these are things that happen when guys are fighting on a competitive level. That's to me what makes the sport so great is the fact that shocker, like, oh snap, I didn't see that happening. That's what makes the sports great to me, man.
All right, I think we've got Kenny Ken coming back in. Kenny, are you playing hide and seek? Kenny? Sorry, we thought you were playing hide and seek online. Yeah.
Nah, hold on 2 seconds.
All right, okay, all right. Let's engage some of the viewers. Guys, smash that like button. We got Benji's Boxing in the building, both from Free Kings Boxing. Check out freekingsboxing.com and Benji's Boxing's YouTube channel. All right. Okay, look. All right, so Benji. So look, we keep hearing another 2 weeks. The fight will be signed soon. It'll be signed soon. All right. Something actually tells me that the promoter's not lying this time. I honestly feel like we will get this fight, one of the fights this year, and then one next year. So I think we just need to kind of believe what they're saying and take this in and hopefully enjoy it. You know, it's been a hard time with this whole pandemic anyway.
Is that a question to me, mate?
Yeah.
So what you say, like, you think it's not just promoters talking garbage, it's that, you know, they're legitimately, we're going to have an announcement soon with everything in place.
Well, Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn, Bob Arum, all three promoters seem to be in sync with what they're saying. What they have said is they're awaiting a site fee, right? A huge site fee that will bankroll this fight from happening. So we've got to be positive. You know, it's what the public demands. It's what, you know, all the boxing fans want. And
there's no smoke without fire, and you have to say, what's there to gain? what have any of these people got to gain by telling us the fight is on, only for it to not materialize? There's no gain in that. Or what, you've only going to put your credibility on the line and lose it. So I think there has to be something in it, because if there wasn't, I think everyone would just stay silent about it and talk about other things, you know, from like Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, these sort of people, to hype it up and say that it's on the edge of announcing a venue and a date and all this sort of thing, and then to not delivering it, to not deliver it would be a massive mistake, and no one gains from that. So I have to say, you know, there's no smoke without fire. I believe that there will be an announcement on this at some point, but then I am the eternal optimist.
Kenny, are you there, mate?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Kenny. Look, these are two British fighters in the peak of their careers right now. Would it be a tragedy if it doesn't happen in the United Kingdom and at Wembley Stadium?
No, not at all, because I think what's happened now is it's all about money. We've lost a lot of money in the last year through COVID-19. And in terms of like the ability to hold the fights, you have to look at places like Saudi Arabia and America where you're sure of getting fans. The problem we've got with all sorts of sporting events, even after we've all had the vaccine, it's all about the biochemical, like where you keep people where you basically keep everyone in solitary, where it's like, with the footballers, they've got biochemical centres where everyone has to isolate together and the event happens. I can't see that happen at Wembley Stadium. You know what I mean? So, and because I'm not sure of us getting fans, it's a sure thing that we're definitely going to get massive crowds in Saudi Arabia, and I'm sure we'll get maybe 50% capacities in Las Vegas. So, in terms of this country, I can't see it happening. Because you're looking May, we're going to look down May, June. We're only talking about 10,000 fans because of the COVID situation in this country. So if they're only talking about 10,000 fans, a fight like this has to have a full stadium, 90,000. And I don't see us getting 90,000 stadiums in this country until, and I'm only being pessimistic, I know, December tops next year.
Wow. Bo, there was talk, I saw Michael Coppinger. He mentioned that I think Billy Joe and Canelo, they're talking about doing it in the Allegiant Stadium or in Texas with a COVID restriction-free crowd. Did you see that at all?
Yeah, Texas makes sense because they are allowing fans in the audience. I mean, allowing
full capacity,
fans. Well, I think it's I don't know if it's full. I know they bumped it up to half at one point, but I could see that Texas is doing it. I think Florida is actually starting to do it too. So wherever they're going to do it is going to be advantage Canelo Alvarez when it comes to the crowd. That's the one thing that the Billy Joe's going to have to deal with. Wherever we do this fight, it's going to be advantage Canelo Alvarez with the crowd. Whether it's Vegas, whether it's Texas, whether it's Florida, they're going to make sure it's advantage Canelo Alvarez for that fight.
100. All right, guys, smash that like button. We'll get a couple of questions in before we conclude. Couple points in. All right. Tony Lyons. AJ is the one who wanted undisputed from day one, not Fury. And it's Fury who's getting cold feet. Fury likes to be a champion and fight bums. He don't want to take a risk at all by fighting AJ. Wow. Benji, strong words from Tony.
Yeah, strong words. I completely disagree. Just because who doesn't want to be the top of the sport, the top of the game, recognized as being the best in the world, the best. I think Fury does want this fight because, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Fury beats AJ after the first fight. He could easily put a spanner in the works and just say, "No, I'm not going to do a rematch. We'll just deal with it in court, whatever." And then he just gets to ride off into the sunset, all the belts, all the titles, undefeated, blah, blah, blah. And he's done. And he can just you know, 2 fingers up job. So again, you know, go back to a point that I made earlier. Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, they're both fighters. They're both boxers. They want to get in the ring and have a fight. You're not at the top level of heavyweight boxing if you've got fear or doubt or disbelief. These 2 guys both believe that they are the best. They both believe they can beat each other. There's no fear. They both want it. What's getting in the way is middlemen and money. That's it. So look, I can't make it simpler than that. I believe Tyson Fury wants to fight. I believe that he believes that he can beat Anthony Joshua. He probably believes that it won't be that hard a fight. I mean, if we go by what Tyson Fury fans say, this is a nothing fight. This is an easy fight for Fury. He just walks through Joshua. He turns up, you know, and completely outboxes him. That's what Fury fans are telling me is what's going to happen. I don't quite agree with that. I think it's going to be more competitive than that. But yeah, there's no reason why Tyson Fury would not want to get in the ring with Anthony Joshua.
All right. Just to conclude, well, I think you'd like this one. All right. Tyson Fury owes Wilder a rematch.
No, the fuck you don't. Simple as that. No, the fuck you don't. That's as simple as I can put it. No, he doesn't. And you know, you can say what you want to say or feel how you want to feel. Now, I get the point where you can make the argument. Wilder gave Fury a chance. He got a draw. Then he gave him a second chance when he didn't have to. And I totally get that argument. But if you're running around telling everybody, I had illegal shit in my hands, I put a dent in your forehead, you know, like you're out here slandering my name, like the things that Deontay Wilder is saying, right? I'm looking for litigation. I'm looking for legal action to be taken in, because if what you're saying is true, the things you're saying, this man assaulted you, right? He did enough illegal shit to assault you. So I'm looking for litigation. You should be putting paperwork on him. You can't slander a fighter's name saying that, you know, you had a foreign object in your hand when there's no proof of that. You throwing your trainer under the bus, talking about somebody spiked your water. The suit bitch. No, all that shit. No, I don't. No, the fuck you don't. No, he don't. He don't owe Deontay shit. So at the end of the day, Deontay is in the position that he's in because mismanagement. The contract ran out. Now you can make the case where Tyson Fury let it run out. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, he did. Because he thought it was pointless to have this fight, because he felt, man, I beat this dude twice already. I beat him once. I beat him a second time. There's no point in me having this fight anymore. But if you're going to slander his name and say he had a foreign object, you know, he had illegal this stuff and all this illegal shit going on, that you have to show me a slow motion video to watch with his hands. That's what you have trainers for. That's what you have people in your corner to watch that shit. Me as a fighter, me as someone watching the fight, I'm not looking for that shit. I'm looking to see what's happening in the ring. So at the end of the day, for me, no, Tyson Fury does not owe Deontay Wilder a fucking rematch. I'd rather see AJ versus Tyson Fury. And if the winner decides to give Deontay a rematch, because mind you, the WBC has put him right there in the hunt. So if the winner decides to give Deontay Wilder a rematch, okay, fine. But right now, at this point, with the way Deontay has behaving, understand something, man. I'm a grown-ass man like everybody else. I take my lumps and my losses through life like everybody else. I dust myself up, I get up. I don't make excuses. The things coming from Deontay Wilder, I cannot support. I will not support. So you're not going to do all that talking, then get my support. You need a rematch. No, the fuck you don't. Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua. That's where we're at.
Wow. All right. We got to leave it there. All right. We've got to thank everyone for joining the live stream. Smash that like button before you head out. We want to also promote the platforms that, you know, from the panel as well. Benji's YouTube channel. You want to shout that out?
Yeah, well, you know, people are seeing me out in the chat and everything, but the YouTube channel's at Benji Boxing, and on Twitter at the Benji Life. And please like, subscribe to Pep Talk UK and get in touch. Give us your thoughts and all that sort of thing. It's been an absolute pleasure tonight, Pro Bees. And once again, seeing Bo, seeing Kenny, absolute pleasure to talk to all three of you.
All right. Kenny, you want to shout out your social media platforms?
First and foremost, I just want to say, Bo, it's been an education. It's been an education. I love that as well. And I love the fact that, that what you said about Deontay was you couldn't put it better. Benji's always great to talk about you. Sorry about the fact that I came with a low battery. I have to make a confession. I was only on about 5% when you asked me, and I had half an hour to say yes. I was always going to say yes when I heard who was on the panel, and in fact it was boxing. But if you want to see him on Instagram, it's KennyKen1972, and the same on Twitter, KennyKen1972. One more thing I want to say: can we please stop giving Derek Chisora pay-per-view events? Derek Chisora is basically the punch bag of British boxing. He's a parasite and a ponce. Stop. Giving this man any limelight whatsoever. He wasn't even a great fighter 15 years ago. So he's not going to be a great fighter at the age of 38. Stop this gravy chain. Stop taking food out of fighters' mouth, Derek. Stop taking money out of their pockets. You're a ponce. You're a thief. Get lost. Go away. Go to your farm. Go and grow some wheat somewhere. We don't want you in boxing. Boxing means to have a petition, get Derek Chisora out of boxing. We don't need you. Go away.
You're not a fan of Derek Chisora, no?
Absolutely not. The man is a disgrace. He's a bum. And every time he fought at the world level, he's lost. I don't want to see, here David Hayes saying he's in the best shape of his life. He's doing things I've never seen before. I've got him earlier. He doesn't fight Zuzik. I mean, I've catted about one punch lad landed cleanly. And I'm probably being generous. He is not a good boxer. He puts bums on seats, but trust me, he's a waste of time, mate. He is a waste of time. Butterbean has more boxing ability than that man.
Wow. Kenny, man, I don't know who upset you today, man, but all right, Bo, do you want to shout out threekingsboxing.com?
Yeah, man, as always, man, go to threekingsboxing.com for the latest and greatest what's going on in sport, man. Shout out to all the guys over there at threekingsboxing.com. And, let me say something, because I'm noticing that there's a lot of beta males with their comments in the comment section, man. At the end of the day, understand, man, we want to see the sport. We want to know what's best for the sport. But if you're unable to be fair and unbiased, and, you're this emotional, attached to your fighter beta male, then, yeah, stuff that's going to be said on this panel and other panels when they're speaking the truth is going to be hard for a lot of these guys to swallow.
All right, man. Okay, we'll leave it there. Guys, smash that like button, subscribe, Pep Talk UK. We out here. Thank you.